Yes, we're here. She knows that we're live because she always puts her butt in my vase. I get upstaged every week. Okay, so as soon as she settles down, I'll invite people while we just discuss what's going on. This week we're going to discuss inner critics. Now, we all have inner critics, and what we're going to talk about this week is how can we identify them, and then how can we, hi Leslie, how can we, after we figured out what inner critics are, how can we stop them from curbing our enthusiasm? I'm going to say last week I had the biggest inner critic situation because this gets particularly hard for me at this time of night. So I'm probably going to change that. And my inner critics last week, I fell asleep because I was so tired. Like at 6:30 waiting for the time to happen. I had fed the dogs, I was all ready, I was like totally prepped, and I passed out. And when I got up, I was like, my notes weren't together, and I had worked so hard on it, and my inner critics had a feeding. You know, I looked back and I'm like, oh, your eyes are red, your head bedhead, there's this hair sticking up. It was hilarious. But the truth is, I got out there and I got my message to you. And I think that's what's really important. And we all have inner critics. And if you are joining me right now, please say hi. If you're joining me later, please say hi still. Let me know where you're coming from. And remember, we're perfection, imperfection. You know, we're just going to enjoy the time that we have with each other. And we'll give a few more minutes for people to come. Let's see if we can invite any more people. But no. Everybody was invited, I think. Okay. And we're working on our lighting without a cat. And that's Mara behind me. So, okay. So we'll try and get this right. Just for a little bit. So, tell me, how was your week last week? Did you get out in nature? Did you ask for miracles and then look for them? I know I did. I'm going to bring this down slightly. And, excuse me. So, now we're here. Oh, here's second cat. Let's just get them. As soon as I come on here, they're very interested. They're very interested in what's going on. That's Handsome Boy Cat. And the first one you saw is Tilly Cat. So, okay. Imperfection. Embrace the messy middle. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So, we always start. I'm going to start with a breathing exercise. I would like for you to breathe in and out. And as you breathe in the light. And breathe out any negativity that you had, any stress. Just let it go and be here right now. Breathe in God. Breathe in love. Let go of anything that you wish to let go of. Breathe it away on the air. Just let it go. And we're here. What are inner critics? What do they sound like? Why do we have them? I know I have a whole slew of them. And it's taken me a while to get to know them and then become friends with them. And the reason I think that they're really important is that you know, they're there for a reason. I think they are. I think they're there to tell us some things that we need to know. They want to protect us, and maybe we no longer need protecting. So I'm sorry. So we no longer need protecting. Thank you, Kitty. And I hear you. Oh my gosh, I'm like the cat lady. And how can we recognize them? Well, it's any negative that you hear. So listen to your inner dialogue. Someone who's not familiar with this, there's tons of people who are here right now who do inner child work and inner critics, and you listen to your inner wise self. I call mine my CSO, my Chief Spiritual Officer, and that's my voice of wisdom. And I talk to that voice of judgment, those critics, with my voice of wisdom, with my God voice, with what God would say, what love would say to my critics. Because I think it's really important to talk to them with kindness and respect, because after all, aren't they part of you? You know, and I think that if we blend them together and understand them, then we can definitely be able to address them in a proper way. This is like one of my favorite subjects. So I could talk about this forever, and I would love anybody else who is watching or later watching, please comment on the kind of critics that you have. I mean, we can talk about the types of inner critics we have, like the perfectionist. We can talk about the overachiever. We can talk about the procrastinator. We can talk about, who else? Who else is a really good example? The one that's the hopeless one, like, oh, why even try? Because life never works out for you anyway. Haven't you seen your life so far? You hear this language, and the imposter syndrome is wrapped right up in this self-talk that happens. And what you can do is talk to them. So when you hear the voice of judgment, you go, you know, like, okay, so we'll give her an example. So, you just broke up, huh, Amber? Another one. Out the door. You can't ever have a relationship. They're all gone. All the good ones are gone, and you never dated any of the good ones anyway. You're not worthy. And I put my hand up, literally and out loud, and say, well, actually, I've had a lot of really great relationships. And just because they ended horribly doesn't mean that it was because of me. It means that the relationship ran its course. And actually, I'm really good at judging people, and that's why I decided that this was enough for me. Another concept to use is, if you're ever familiar with Byron Katie's The Work, and it's called The Work, but I want to say Byron Katie's Work, and she has this wonderful 3 sentences to use. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? And maybe when addressing your inner critics, you can go, okay, is it true? Because that way we know the difference between, you know, learning a lesson and like, okay, did you mess up? Did you hurt someone else's feelings? Is it kind? The language that is coming back to you, is that thing saying, you stupid head? Or is it going, Amber, you messed this one up, but it's going to be okay. Listen to that voice and know the voice of judgment and the voice of wisdom. And I call them my inner critics. You can call them anything you like. I like to make friends with mine. And, you know, what I've done in the past, I've worked on this for quite some time. So I've worked with Sark, Sark is Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy, and she is this wonderful artist writer. And she has this concept of living in the messy middle, which I have totally taken on for my life. And she also says, with inner critics, give them another job. So you have a perfectionist, an inner perfectionist, and it goes over your work like everything, and it goes over everything you do with like a fine-tooth comb. Well, give it another job. Send it to an egg factory to check for cracks in the eggs. And with this wonderful thing, it allows her to have a little fun with it and lets that critic go. Like, hey, you need a job and it isn't here because I've got it. And if you signal that to yourself and you have that conversation, hey, stop, I got this. I appreciate that you're worried about me, but I understand where I'm at. If you can do that with yourself and change the direction and not lose momentum on what you want to go, or where you want to go, because that's the most important part, is that you don't criticize your way out of sending your message to the world, whatever that may be. If your message is to dance or to speak to a crowd or even just dating someone, if it's just simple things, but your inner critic is tearing you apart so you can't get it done, it's time to let it go and talk to it and let it like amalgamate. Now, this week, what we're going to do is we're going to have, when you get home, when I get home, when you get home, you are home. I don't know why I'm talking like we're actually somewhere else, but we might be somewhere else. And if you are somewhere else, you don't have to wait till you get home. So I made this, I did the Clarity Catalyst with Corey Cooper, who I hope is watching, and Lavander Archer. I made this little booklet with my critics. So what I'd like you to do, like this one is Priscilla Prude, and her job is judgment. Her motto is shame on you. Cousins to the church lady. Isn't that special? And then we have Diligent Doris, and she's my overworker, and she's the one I gotta make up for being an idiot. Keep doing more. This isn't enough. Workaholic. The phone, there's the phone. Frantic lines on my face. Life goal. Gotta make up for being an idiot. See, these are the funny things. This is also Carolina Comparer, and that's my art critic. But she leaves no room for anybody else. So she says, let's be realistic. You suck, and everybody else's stuff is a masterpiece. And let me tell you, that is one of my biggest ones, because I look at everybody else's work and go, wow, aren't they amazing? And I look at mine, I'm like, stick figure. And I'm not bad. I mean, I have to say, I'm not too bad. I enjoy painting and being an artist and all of these things and being a creative. I don't have to be perfect for myself to enjoy it or for anybody else to. I mean, come on. Why do I have to be perfect? And then this one is Shut Down Stella. I love Shut Down Stella because look at her face. She's like deer in the headlights. And her song is Freeze Frame. Her biggest emotion is fear. I can't see what you're trying to tell me, is her saying. She's my OG. She's an old-time gangster critic. Came on when I was 7 years old. So when everything went crazy in my life, I would just panic and I would freeze. And she's there all the time when I freak out. So with all of these, I decided that this is the messy middle. This is the table. And all of my sticky emotions, all of the emotions have a place at the table. Everybody has a place at the table. My anger, my anxiety, my disease, my overweight, my adventure, my fear, my Priscilla, my Stella, my joy, and my fear, and my sexyhood. All those feelings of me, all the messy parts that make me me, all have a place at the table and all have a say, but they can't drive the car. That was from Big Magic. It was wonderful. What a great book. And she said, you know, I tell the inner critics, you can sit in the back seat, you can have a voice, but you can't touch the radio and you can't drive the car. And I think that's the same way I feel, is that, you know, if you talk to yourself with respect and saying, okay, what's your issue here? Stop. I've got this now. I'm not 7 years old. I can handle this now. What do we need to do? Well, I think it really works. And then I put on the back, then they all lived happily ever after. So I made this little booklet, and it was really a lot of fun. But you can use, and I had them here because I was prepared. I was fleeking prepared today because of last week. Get index cards and then write a profile for each one. Draw a little stick figure, or you could get as creative as I did, where I took pictures of myself in different costumes, and I had so much fun with it. And then I made a little booklet for myself. You can even use pages in your journal. So you would just do a page in your journal and then write out your biggest critics. Who are they? What do they have to say? What are they protecting you from? A friend of mine in Corey, he always says, what do they eat for breakfast? What are your critics like? What do they need? And what can you feed them? What can you do? What other new job can you give them? What can your voice of wisdom say to them? And then, what job can you give them to help you get on with what you need to get on with? Whether it's writing a book, or doing a great job at work, or having a wonderful relationship with your spouse. Whatever it is, you can have it. And you've just got to help those critics know where their place is and where their place isn't. Fear can be a big thing, and they stop us from being in our enthusiasm. You know, that's my favorite emotion that I have, is my enthusiasm. And what it means, if you take the word apart, it means in God, in Theos, in God. And when you get critics, they take your connection to God away. And that's the last thing I want. It feels terrible. So if there's any reason to motivate yourself to talk to your inner critics and just get a little bit real and a little bit down there and say, hey, I've got this. You don't have to brag. You don't have to say things that aren't true just to pull yourself out of it. You need just to be with truth is you've made it to this day. Every day, every single decision you made brought you here. And you get to do this again. So you get a do-over every day. Remember that. It's a fresh new day. Every single day you wake up and you get to decide what happens. Not your inner critics, because they belong to someone else. Someone else gave you those. Nothing else matters but you and your decision on what you're going to do today and where you're going to take that. And if you deal with your inner critics, I swear you're going to have a better life. it's going to be richer and more beautiful than you ever imagined it could be. Thank you for joining me today. I guess we've gone over why, we've gone over how to deal with it. Your homework is to make, or your soul work is to learn your inner critics, find out what they have to say, and then reassign them new jobs. So, and then we've worked on, let's talk about what we've worked on so we can catch up. We have Where Are You? And you'll see all the paperwork in the thing, week 1. Inner wisdom, meditation, journaling. How are you guys doing with that? If you'd like some writing prompts, I'll post some of those. Get closer to nature, go for walks, ask for miracles. I love asking for miracles. You guys are my miracle. I couldn't have gotten this far without you guys helping me out every day. And now we're talking about the inner critics, getting rid of them. Not getting rid of them so much as, because they're part of you, but not allowing them to block your way. Using them as your cheerleaders, turning your inner critics to your cheerleaders. And next week, we're going to talk about our inner wisdom and asking your CSO for some really good advice. You know, asking the question and then letting it go overnight, and then journaling it about it in the morning. It's a fantastic process. And, you know, you can say inner wise self, you can say CSO, Chief Spiritual Officer, you can say God, whoever it is for you, Buddha, Jesus, anybody. It doesn't matter. You know, they say you can't get wet by the word water. It doesn't matter. Whatever that beautiful spiritual connection is, use it because it's there for you. All right. I have done enough. You have probably listened to me enough. I want you to have a really good week. Every day is a do-over. That's what I want to tell you. And everything is always working out for you. Not to you, but for you. So write that down. If that isn't already on your posties, everything is working out for me. That's what I say every morning. And then I'm betting on myself. I'm betting on you too, and I'm holding space for that. I will see you next week. We're probably moving this to a morning time, 11 o'clock on either Wednesday or Friday. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to do it in the morning because I'm already worn out. Take care.